Criterion has done it, y'all. Criterion and EA has officially done it after so many amounts of screw-ups, blunders, and just overall mismanagement of the Need for Speed franchise as a whole. I never thought that I would actually see the day where Need for Speed is actually getting the love that it not only needs, but it actually deserves. Because it was not very long ago where I actually put EA and Criterion on blast for the mismanagement of Need for Speed Heat, and then they shut down Ghost Games, which really infuriated me, and then they killed off support on a good Need for Speed game that a lot of people like myself enjoyed, and then they moved and shifted the overall management of the Need for Speed franchise to Criterion, who mainly had experience in making Burnout games. And as you all know, when Need for Speed Unbound originally got announced and they showed that iconic trailer with A$AP Rocky in it, I was actually very skeptical, a lot like others, as seen by this comment right here, that aged like fine wine. And after so many months, my unholy rage while playing the campaign, which I still need to finish by the way, well, one reason being that it was complete and utter broken on the PC port, but that's besides the point, and the community coming together to demand fire content for Need for Speed Unbound and not have a repeat of Need for Speed Heat, I can say here wholeheartedly with my chest out, standing 10 toes down, standing on business, that Criterion and EA, surprisingly, have cooked with the Need for Speed Underground update for Need for Speed Unbound.
Look at us. Hey, look at us.
Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought?
Not me.
Alright, so since I don't really know how to really structure this video, I'm actually just gonna go ahead and break it down into really more or less 3 or 4 key parts, because in the first part that I also want to mention before I get into like the main parts is that how wholeheartedly I have been enjoying this update. And there will be days, no lie, that I will be up until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning strictly drifting and online, doing the playlist, the underground playlist, doing the drag racing, building my cars to perfection, making drag builds and all type of stuff in the online mode. So starting up, I think it's only right that I talk about my favorite part of this update, and that is the drift part of the update.
Okay, listen up. I'm gonna teach you about drifting. It's the hottest import from Japan, and it's all about driving with style. Drifting is getting your car sideways. Use your speed, steering, and handbrake to get your car into a wicked slide. The longer you can hold it, the more points you get. Anyone can slide their car, but to really set off the high scores, you need to pitch your car into a radical angle as you go around the corners. If you're really good, you can link drifts together for even more points. Think you're really hot? Try and keep a couple of tires in the outer lanes. You'll score big bonus points, but watch out for the wall. You'll lose all your points for that drift if you hit the barriers. That's it. Practice makes perfect. Experiment with different cars and tracks to find your groove and become the Drift King.
Yo, check this. The drift is all about style and control. Remember these 3 words: speed, steering, and handbrake, because they all play a factor in setting up those sweet moves that are gonna get you racking in some heavy points. Make sure you don't go crazy with the brakes, because the faster you go, combined with the more slides you hit, the higher your score is gonna be. Now this score will dictate the multiplier you're gonna get. This multiplier will affect the score of your next drift, so make sure it's high. After you get all them details working together, you gotta start blending drifts into one another. Mesh your drifts into one long seamless slide, and the scoreboard will light up something hard. Now if you think you're wired tight, it's time to go B-I-G big. Try hanging your rubber into the shoulder for bonus points. The more tires you slide through the lanes, the faster you rack up that score. Just remember to stay off the walls, or you lose all your points for that set. So bro, let's get down to some business and heat up them streets.
Drifting is all about controlled chaos, and it is clearly evident in this update for Need for Speed Unbound. The whole point of a drift is to throw your car on a slide and try to maintain it, and I was surprised when I actually predicted that they would actually throw in some type of tune or some type of part like drift tires on your car to actually make your car drift, and you can actually hold slides and power slide way more than what you can in the base game of Need for Speed Unbound. And I was shocked when I saw that in the update itself that you could actually put on Drift Pro tires, and they actually have Drift Pro events already on top of the Drift events in the online mode. All you have to do is go to your garage, go to your performance page, go to the tire section, and buy and equip the Drift Pro tires. Oh, and the best part, You can equip these tires on any car you want. Any car that you have access to in the game. That's the whole beauty of it. No paywalls, no season pass bullshit, just straight up buying the content straight up and having fun right out the gate. That's what I'm all about. And I gotta say, right out the gate, the drifting, the new drifting for all the cars that I tested with and recorded with seems really, really, really satisfying. I was very shocked that they not only emulated the Need For Speed Underground and Underground 2 style drifting, but they also improved upon it with every single car in the game, and each individual car has their own specific handling when you put these Drift Pro tires on. So that means rear-wheel drive cars like a Mazda RX-7 or a 350Z is gonna fishtail a lot more than what you will in a Lamborghini Huracan. And it's also very important to know that when they rebooted Need For Speed in 2015 and they introduced the grip and the drift like handling lines for the cars, it was good on paper, but the main issue was that it definitely was not polished before release, because there was a huge issue where if you have a drift build car, you will oftentimes finding yourself magnetically drifting into walls when you try to fishtail and try to chain together drifts. Then in Payback, they fixed this problem to an extent, but the issue was that off-road cars, especially if you tune your car the wrong way, that you will often find that magnetic problem that I spoke about in Need For Speed 2015 in Payback. Then in Need For Speed Heat, then I believe the whole entire drift focus for that game, I believe it was also had the drift tires. You could pretty much make your own drift car, but the problem was that the drift tires they had in Need For Speed Heat, you'll find yourself spinning out, you'll find yourself straightening up, but then other people like myself found out that if you put drift differentials on, drift suspension with the drag tires, that's like the best build to have on the game to like chain together drifts and all that stuff. In Need For Speed Unbound, however, they actually took the time to go through every single car, including the two new ones that I will talk about in a few. For every single car, they have their own individual handling line, and it doesn't matter like what car you drive, it will slide. And now don't get me wrong, it's still arcade sim style drifting. It's no CarX Drift Racing Online or any other hyper-realistic simulator like Forza Horizon, where they actually try to simulate weight transfer and drifting mechanics and physics. But I still love it regardless, and a lot of the other community members love it as well. Oh, and by the way, I also mentioned earlier that they included new Drift Pro events. So not only do you have the normal drift events where you can use any car you want to drift, but in this new mode, you specifically need to have Drift Pro tires equipped on your car, or they're gonna give you a loaner car. So that means if you already have a drift build but you don't have the Drift Pro tires, guess what? You can't participate and you have to get a loaner car. And when you're not losing countless hours of your life like I did in the drift events, just messing around and getting competitive in it, guess what? You can also use the Drift Pro tires in free mode as well, meaning that you have overall a lot more freedom than what I thought we were gonna have with this update. So that's pretty much my take on the Need For Speed Unbound Underground update in terms of like the drifting and everything. I love the drifting mechanics that they added in Need For Speed Unbound now with this update, and you will catch me in online doing a lot of drifting in this game. But that's gonna be nothing compared to my second favorite part of this update, which of course is the drag racing.
Drag racing. It's what the whole street scene was built on. If you really want to be a player, you've got to be good at this. Drags are different than regular races. It's all about reaction time. Launching at the right RPM and nailing those shifts wins every time. Each car has a perfect shift point. You know, the optimal RPM. Shift at this point and your car will get a boost. Miss high or low and you'll waste valuable seconds. Got nitrous in your ride? This is the place to use it. It can cut precious seconds off your time and help you get out of some hairy situations. You're going to be pushing your engine to its limit, so keep an eye on your temperature. If it runs too hot, you'll blow your engine. Okay, that's all there is to it. Go and get in the fastest racing you'll ever experience.
Hey, yo, man. Street drag is the influence behind everything we got. Check it like this. The RPM is the key to getting ahead of the competition. Launch at the right time and rocket into the lead with speed. But if you're slow about it, you'll end up at the back of the pack. Launch is followed by shift, so it's next. It's the daddy of success, so hit it up at the perfect shift point for max power. Now remember, if you slam it too soon or too late, you'll be coming in last. If the other guy gets past you, just chill and slide into his slipstream and sit in his draft. Gain precious speed and then make your move to bounce right on by. This is gonna be big, dog. You ready? Good. Go out there and prove yourself.
Drag racing, the very thing that birthed the whole illegal street racing trend as a whole. From the Fast and the Furious to Need For Speed and to every other movie in between, drag racing was what started it all. Now on paper, drag racing doesn't seem like the most complex racing design ever made. Basically, you just start at the starting line, you drag race and launch off the line for a quarter mile up to a half mile, and then pretty much the race is over in like 10 to 15 seconds. Well, unless you're the Fast and the Furious, that is, where they really have to stretch out the drag racing scenes. But with Need For Speed, they somehow found the drift racing formula and they increased it tenfold with the intensity and the overall fun factor. And Need For Speed Underground was what started it all. Not only are you drag racing in a straight line, but what they did and what made it so special in Need For Speed Underground and Underground 2 was not only that you were also had to dodge traffic, but you also had to lane switch and manually shift gears, which also adds to a little bit of a skill factor because anybody can drag race in a Hellcat Charger. It really doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that part out. But in the fact that you simply have to power shift, you have to time your NOS burst, you have to dodge traffic, you have to dodge oncoming trains.
Look the fuck out, DJ the train!
All those factors that I listed was what made Need For Speed Underground and Underground 2 so special to me and a lot of other players around the world. So you can imagine my disdain after Need For Speed Payback. Need For Speed Heat did not have drag racing at all, even though it was in the story campaign introduction and in the trailers and in the main menu. And they also had drift parts and drift tires in Need For Speed Heat, but there was no drag racing at all. In fact, if I remember correctly, I believe the online mode, people actually made their own version of the drift racing in the online mode, and still to this day in 2024. So you can just imagine how excited I was when they came out and announced that drag racing was officially going to return in Need For Speed Unbound. And y'all remember in my video that I made about a few weeks ago where I predicted what they will probably do with the Need For Speed Underground updates and the Hot Pursuit update that's going to come soon, was that if they're going to bring back the drag racing, since it's an underground inspired update, they have to do the manual shifting and the lane switching while dodging traffic. I told them they had to do that, and guess what? They delivered. Not only do you have the manual shifting, the lane switching, but you also have the new burnout feature, just like how you would do in other drag racing titles that or other racing games that has drag racing in it, where you heat your tires up to have a good launch. But this time around, when you do burnouts in the burnout box before the race begins, you actually, if you get a perfect burnout, you get an extra shot of NOS, which is going to increase the overall skill factor and gonna give you a competitive advantage. However, you also have to take into consideration when you're gonna time your NOS. If you use your NOS too early in a race, it's not gonna be there when you need it the most. And if you wait to the last possible minute, you're pretty much not gonna win the race, and it's not gonna really turn into your advantage. That's what made Midnight Club 2 and Midnight Club 3 Double Edition Remix my absolute favorite racing games of all time. Even though those two games right there is considered the Dark Souls of all racing games, it still involves a lot of skill in it, because it doesn't matter how hard a race is. If you actually focus up and you save your NOS strategically and don't panic early in the race, and you save it for the absolute last, you can come up with some very split-second, high-action, like pretty much death-defying stunts in the game and win the race at the very last possible second. That's what made me fall in love with Midnight Club so much as a kid. And I'm really glad that that part of Midnight Club is starting to slowly but surely get to Need For Speed. Oh, and also the one thing that the brilliant decision that I have to bring up here in this video was the brilliant idea to not only include the class system for these races, but also have limits as to what cars can and cannot be used. So for example, the Koenigsegg Regera cannot be used in drag races at all, because it's way too overpowered and they finally learned their lesson from the past 3 Need for Speed games. But also the brilliant decision of also taking into consideration the class system that they use for the B, A, and S tier vehicles. So if you have a S tier vehicle, you can race in those S class events. If you have any cars that's below that, they can't race. So each class is gonna have specific advantages over the others. Just like in Midnight Club. In the club events, you can ride in a specific kind of vehicle. You drive the wrong vehicle, you're not racing that day. And it's also akin to the Tokyo stage, where the diamond events you can race in any vehicle in that class, but it has to be in that class. If it's above or below that class, you can't race. But that also means that certain cars isn't restricted to just one class. It's completely possible to drag race in a Honda Civic as an S plus tier car, and it's completely possible to race a Nissan GTR in a B tier. But getting into the drag races itself, it is so good, man. I did not expect them to snap on this update with the Need for Speed Underground style drag racing. I really didn't. It is so much fun, and getting into it overall, like I said, you have the burnout box. You time your burnouts right, you have an extra shot of NOS. Then you also have to time your launch. Then also after that, you got to time your shifts. Now, at the time of this recording, that there was a slight glitch with the gear shifter at the left hand side of the screen, and a little glitch where you actually, when you're doing your burnout, you actually jump off the line a little bit. That has long since been fixed now. So I'm glad they're actually jumping on bugs and glitches a lot more faster with these new updates now. But with the footage that I was able to get, I have been completely enjoying the drag races regardless of if I win or lose. Now, if I cared about winning, I would have already beat the campaign and got the best cars to actually max out and do these drag races in. Because regardless of if you win or lose, and this is the part that I forgot to bring up, but regardless of if you win or lose, you're still gonna win a large amount of money in the online mode and in these new updates now, because I completely forgot that since the online and the campaign is separate, like the online, it's a lot more easier to gain money and reputation and XP in online than the campaign. And you can win a lot of money in the updates, in the daily playlist that they actually have in these updates now, when they have double, triple, and even quadruple money in XP for them. And you also get a player boost as well. As for me, I personally like to use the Nissan GTR fully tricked out in the S Plus and regular S tier cars, while also using downforce to my advantage and also having a very quick acceleration boost with the parts that I installed on it. That's just me though. There's probably a lot better builds than what I probably build right now at the moment. But then you also got to remember, I was trying to get footage, so I'm just trying to figure out what the meta is. But the GTR hasn't let me down then, and it damn for sure won't let me down now. Now that the drag races is out of the way, I can now talk about the final part about what I like about this update so much. Now, as if we weren't spoiled enough with the drag and drift underground style races and events that we have for this update, but it gets even better, because in the other video that I made regarding the next updates regarding this game and from here on out in the roadmap that they introduced, is that now we're gonna get 2 cars every single update. That means 1 free car and 1 car in the paid speed pass. Now, that's not all bad news, because you want to know why? Because not only did we get the Audi R8 back and the Audi RS6 in the game, but for the 2 cars they introduced now, they brought in the BMW M3 Competition Touring Wagon, and they brought in the 2024 Ford Mustang Dark Horse that just came out and is fresh off the production line. And not only that, but they also have a bunch of crazy kits and customization to both cars and all of the cars that's gonna come in the next few updates. Along with what I'm possibly gonna go for is the all the way up to tier 100, where they have the specialty Dark Horse drag build for the car. And you thought I was done, but wait, there's more. And since this is an underground style update, they not only included a lot of Need for Speed Underground and Underground 2 vanity plates and underglows, side LEDs and all that stuff, but guess what? They brought back spinners.
Are you serious?
Yes, you heard me right. Spinners has made a return in Need for Speed in 2024 since Underground 2. Now, granted, they are LED. I don't know what they call it, but they call it, like, what do they call it? LED, like those plates that you put on the rim like those LED display like things that you put on the rim, and then that's how they did the spinners for the cars. But I really wish that it was actually physically modeled and it actually had spinner physics, just like it did in Need for Speed Underground and Underground 2 and in Midnight Club 3 Double Edition Remix. But hey, beggars can't be choosers, and it still looked good regardless, because I still recognize a lot of the spinners that was in the original OG Need for Speed Underground 2, and I believe we had spinners in the first Underground as well, but I could be mistaken. But there is a lot of content to get into, and I probably can't get it all in this video, but there is a lot of stuff to earn regardless of if you pay for the Speed Pass or not. Now, I'm not really for giving EA any extra money, and honestly, I didn't even give them any money. I bought Need for Speed Unbound on a third-party key site, but when they introduce updates like this, I have no problem supporting them. I don't have a problem supporting them when they do stuff like this for a change. And honestly, this is a great change of pace considering how Battlefield 2042 failed, and then guess what? They came crawling back to Need for Speed Unbound. But regardless, there's a lot of stuff that I still need to earn, and also, I also have to mention this. Now, this is the bummer part. Now, the one thing that I forgot to mention was that the update in and of itself and the online portion of Need for Speed Unbound is not cross-platform. So meaning, if you're like me and you're on PC and you all of a sudden got a PlayStation 5 and you want to get Need for Speed Unbound so you can actually play the update and mainly play on console, guess what? You have to start all the way over, which is a bummer considering they force you to sign into the EA app and sign into your EA account when you purchase new Need for Speed games. But hey, if that's how they want to play, I guess I'm gonna have to deal with it. I still love the update regardless, and plus I didn't really get that far anyways. I just only did like maybe, I believe, 20 hours of gameplay in and of itself, so it's no real sweat off my rear end. But it would still be great if it was cross-platform like Fortnite, Apex, you know, that kind of thing. So to wrap up this video in its long entirety, I really had a ball making this video, and this was like probably one of my best videos that I have made as of recently. I will say that wholeheartedly because it's one of those videos that I'm very passionate about. Midnight Club holds a special place in my heart, but Need for Speed also holds that much amount of a candle to Midnight Club and that special place in my heart as well. And to see the Need for Speed franchise fall off slowly but surely, but slowly get revived out of the blue like this, the way that they did, and brought back so many features that should have been in the game to begin with, that should have been brought back sooner, it really warms my heart that they actually finally listened to the community, listened to fans, and learned from their past mistakes. And with Battlefield officially out of the picture, at least until 2025 or whenever they decide to release this next Battlefield game, that is probably going to fail, let's be real here. But overall, this is really going to hold me over for like the next year up until GTA 6 is released, because now that I got Infinite Wealth, Yakuza Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth out of the way, this is pretty much all I'm going to be playing, at least until I get my hands on the Elden Ring DLC in a couple days. But this is really going to hold me over until the next Need for Speed game or any other news regarding other racing games that are going to come out soon. But overall, this was a banger update, a banger update. And I will say this, Criterion, I know I gave y'all a lot of flack in the past, but I will say this, y'all absolutely cooked up like Steph Curry on the basketball court with this update. And I will definitely be looking forward to what you guys will do with the Need for Speed Hot Pursuit update. I still don't know what you guys might do, but we'll see what you guys are going to do. This might be one of those updates that I'm just going to have to sit back and wait and just not really throw a prediction out there. But with that being said, let me know what y'all think about this video and the Need for Speed Unbound update in and of itself. I know a lot of y'all personally DM'd me and left comments on my YouTube page and on my videos how y'all feel about this update, but let me know how y'all feel down below. Anyways, it's your boy Gwop. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. If you guys are new, Criterion, y'all done it, bro. I didn't think it was possible. And I'm out, bro. Deuces.
Feeling it. LSC, you know what's going down on the edge of the middle of the night. With the gang, but I'm feeling all alone, doing wrong, but it's kind of feeling right. Nah, it's never blind, cause it came with a sight, that's right. I don't really wanna fight, but they tryna change my story, rewrite. We're just tryna role play something like down on the edge of the middle of the night.